has presently developed of light movement in celestial sky areas, massive astronomical compilations of the centuries have unknowingly directed man's course away from observation and comprehension of the realistic universe about us. But the current opportunity to view terrestrial skylight function and the ensuing formations abrogates astronomical presentations, and that modern view eloquently attests to the import of ancient philosophical dictum on earth. As it is in heaven, modern enterprise confirms that what is to be found in the celestial heavens has undeniable taubarts in the terrestrial heavens, and it has been vividly disclosed that it is the deceptive appearance of things and conditions over the land areas of the universe, rather than that which exists on land under the celestial and terrestrial heavens, which is made for confusion, thus denying acquisition of the universe about us. The same astronomically recorded shifts in the spectrum from the longest red wave to the shortest violet wave had to be registered from observation and analysis of terrestrial skylight movement. The cinema many of celestial and terrestrial skylight performance, meriting the same interpretation, must provide evidence for the least discerning person that astronomy's announced celestial values are purely illusory. It may thereby be perceived that were we to apply the astronomical yardstick to the terrestrial skies, luminous powder surface certain areas would, like the celestial aerial named Sirius, be assumed to possess more than 26 times the sun's mathematical candle power. The absurd conclusion would develop from such terrestrial sky areas: apparent heat intensity. We repeat, apparent heat intensity. Fantastic, how could it be otherwise with our physical knowledge of terrestrial sky areas? Yet that would be the inevitable development when we attempted to gauge the terrestrial sky with the same instruments utilized by astronomy for gauging the celestial sky in such application of astronomy's gate. Just a terrestrial sky areas, it will be established at the red of the green weight salt. No such meaning is that which is astronomically concluded from celestial sky. Like the areas where the colors are evidenced, the test to be made of terrestrial skylight will establish the value of red and green waves from terrestrial skylight to be diametrically opposed to astronomical deduction. Ancient observation of the lights detected in the universe about us developed the so-called star charts. That development was an artful expression of the wholesome star-observing pastime. Nobody was deluded through the art of celestial light charting, but when the same art did acts itself with a judicial garb at science, it imposes upon the world illusory conditions acclaimed to be real. There is described neither under science, during the many centuries of observation. There should have been discernment of the illusions, and the least that might have been achieved was comprehension of the unfailing manner in which our creative energy must move. That movement is a wave, but the universally manifested wave motion was replaced by the astronomical fraternity with the barren desert circling or ellipse du tone. And strangely, such replacement was made a sustained theory even as the wave term received empty lip service with that replacement from the world of the illusory. The entire astronomical structure erected upon the circling or ellipse in guess becomes purposeless and forward now, where throughout the broad domain of research in pure and applied science is there to be experienced the circling or ellipse in motion contain in making the foundation for celestial mechanics, wherever such motion seems to take place other than in man-made mechanics. A terrestrial little, it is purely illusory with a relation to the motion of universally dispensed energy. It is timely to relate a personal experience confirming that creative energy, wherever manifested, is compelled to move in the wave that holds true, even if every lens the world possesses causes the motion to appear as circling. The lens is incapable of faithful recording, but the brain should be aware of such fact, for it is the brain that truly sees. In the chapter dealing with the pilgrimage, a meeting with the famous physicist Dr. Robert Andrews Millikan, then president of the California Institute of Technology at Pasadena, was described at the time during the summer of 1928. Dr. Millikan's able assistant was Dr. Carl Anderson, and as Dr. Anderson conducted this then youthful enthusiasm over the institution's campus to view the world's first isolated electron, he remarked, "The electron prescribes a surly motion in matter. Lacking diplomatic legacy, we responded at this. What Dr. Anderson replied, it seems to move in a circling manner. With the same lack of diplomacy, we answered, That is better. Though Dr. Anderson was a very learned physicist who was subsequently awarded a Nobel Prize. He referred to the electron seeming motion, even though his brain saw the true motion. Such masking of circling was due to the influence of the seeming motion, and the lens was responsible for the seeming condition. Yet it was known to one who had never observed an electron that the basic and irrefutable principles of motion precluded any possibility that the electron performed any circling in the case of the mathematical astronomer. It is found that despite knowledge of the wave and band of energy, there is a persistent adherence to the seeming for illusory motion. His unswerving devotion to the illusory demands denial of the authentic motion, and all his phenomenal observations and conclusions hence result the numerous miscalculations of that motion's distance and speed from the astronomical point of observation, and it precludes possibility for understanding of the image, inverted voluminous celestial sky area where the motion is detected. No structure in the world of reality can be sustained on a mythical foundation. The framework of astronomy is productive of nothing realistic because it is erected on the illusory worse, the constantly increased lens magnifications of the luminosity. Projecting the original illusion retires findings of fact in the realistic universe. Is it too much to expect that after 300 years of mathematized telescopic astronomy, following 3,000 and more years of astronomical art, the illusory framework must be discerned by government agencies? Their findings have uncovered the basic illusion and have paved the way for the astronomers' right determination of cosmic values. Though theory may be of enduring mathematical prescription, it is always subject to change. Along the course of civilization, theory, which represented the truth of each time and place, has undergone change for the better. That process of change has made civilization. From the time of Hippocrates, the science of medicine has been subjected to the most intense scrutiny by members who have dared to question its premise, and their questioning made for a right determination of anatomical values which benefited humanity and advanced medicine to its present highest state. It was only through persisted doubting, contradicting, and experimenting that factual knowledge was acquired of the human body's circulatory system. And was that where determination of values of 1,001 progressive and helpful features were evolved. But they could not have been possible until the false theory of blood function had been discarded to project the circulatory system of man into the arena of celestial sky. Live analysis affords a timely comparison of values. It may serve to clarify features of physical continuity, which the atomic physicists very nearly found. With their determination, there is a play of energy between particle and particle of the entire universe. For the past 300 years, mathematized telescopic astronomy has sought to determine the creative circulatory system of the universe, but in that search had insisted that the universal blood flow magnetic force and skylight gas was restricted in its function to the terrestrial side of the universe body. For all here, the continuous and constantly energizing sky of the universe. Hall is likened to the human body's circulatory system, the sky veins functions. The gases are in turn constantly agitated or stimulated by the creative magnetic force of the universe. The terrestrial reap resins, but one side of the universe body, the celestial, represents the other side. The creative forces at work do not nourish and stimulate one side to the neglect of the other. Were such the case, the terrestrial only could survive to judge from astronomical conclusions. Neither universal magnetism nor celestial sky gas exists, and where they are reluctantly conjectured to exist, they are so misinterpreted and miscalculated as to obscure their function and purpose. The astronomer concludes that the formidable sky gas circulatory condition, which actuates the terrestrial and the celestial, is negative as a continuous vein of the universe whole. Hence, the abundant theme expressions, life variations, light shadings, and distortions are not considered developments of Ascari and extending through the celestial. The determination that such celestial sky expressions are not from celestial sky gases, and the conclusion that many expressions are remote from the luminous celestial areas, has been responsible for the most complex system of contradictions within the history of all the sciences. In consideration, the best or nominal procedure, It is not be wondered that such a conclusion should result is that matter existing in so-called celestial Nicolai has density 1,000,000 times less than anything on Earth by such a figure, so-called Nicolai Arna, astronomically, who ordained as matter though less than matter. The matter of reference is celestial sky gas, and it has identical terrestrial sky matter, or gas, weight. Hence it is sky gas which is not matter, as commonly indicated by the word. But the astronomical conclusion is present, something more sensational. They compare celestial sky gas weight with terrestrial land mass weight. The absurdity of comparison should be evident towards a year-old child in previous examples, particularly the white cloud accumulation to photograph the area of terrestrial skylight. It is shown that the astronomical nebula is nothing more than moving gas event within luminous powder sky areas of the celestial and the terrestrial. To occur at such gas in nebulae with the wave of mass, as mass is considered in a world of reality, is equivalent to attributing mass property to an ectoplasmic emanation in the field of the spiritualist. Though it is true that even electric impulses have a certain weight, one would hardly consider comparing the relatively weightless electric impulses registered from brain mass functioning with any known mass property on the opposite end of astronomy's mathematical seesaw. It is disclosed that some stars possess density 1,000,000 times greater than anything found on Earth, assuming that the astro-mathematicians, who through their own choice of words and figures prove that their estimates deal exclusively with skylight in its expressions, could by some romantic performance at court such way beyond known master luminosity, detected and analyzed, what meaning can it have in a war of reality? What could it mean to have a maker of land or a grove of trees 1,000,000 times the known and real density of an acre of land or a grove of trees? The human mind cannot estimate established mass density. What would it do with 1,000,000 times known density, and some 1,000,000 times the density of known density can mean nothing more than a choice of words, meaningful only in the unreal world of the astro-mathematician. Any attempt to apply to known density 1,000,000 times its known characteristics as density transcends conceptual capacity. Moreover, multiplication by 1,000,000 would necessarily advocate density as known density, and thereby would establish density of something else beyond density in the sequestered realm of hallucination, that might provide the nucleus for some heretofore expressed but unrecorded fantasy of confusion. Otherwise, it expresses only the multiplication, which should be registered 1,000,000 times, when million ciphers equals 1,000,000 times 1,000,000 of nothing, etc. ad infinitum. To clarify this material relating to mass property and gaseous content, it can be observed that there should be marked differentiation of the subjects. They cannot in this instance be considered interchangeable, although in final analysis they may be considered interrelated. 1/astronomy, and its unlimited mathematical scope of operation, can deal only with observation and deduction of the luminous celestial gaseous sky surface. Surface air means the luminous powder sky layer detected by the telescope lens, or if I'm detected mathematically considered to exist, to slash flow. There is limited weight. Sky gas over celestial land areas. It holds no weight significance when compared with the underlying undetectable land mass weight, and the fact that celestial land cannot be detected by astronomy's article instruments and measurements can bear repetition on every page of this book for their reposes. In that feature, the basis for comprehension of the realistic universe. 3. Yen is found in astro-mathematical conclusions that the gaseous sky of some celestial areas possesses density 1,000,000 times more than anything found on Earth, worth to be concluded that celestial sky gases of some areas weigh 1,000,000 times more than terrestrial sky gases. We could blame mathematics and Firth with related the subject to Dante's Inferno or some corresponding site, but painfully it is concluded that the sky gases are that much weightier than anything found on Earth. And unless words to have become subject to astro-mathematical magic, the astronomical conclusion means the land contend with the Earth. Not the gaseous sky can take over the Earth, for further, the same astronomical methods disclose that so-called celestial nebula is a density of 1,000,000 times less than anything on Earth. Again, it has found that there can be no comparison. Earth landmass and celestial sky gas are by no means the same or similar subjects. The freely utilized infinite mathematics of human will can't hold such absolute power over the astro-mathematician that they can endow such subjects. As terrestrial landmass and celestial sky gas density, with pseudo-mimetic of such mathematical stuff are stars made, the constituting material may be 1,000,000 times heavier lighter. It may be of value to observe the light detected or deduced is from gas which represents a star be the moving shadows of the gas, or possessed of density 1,000,000 times less than anything found on Earth. See then elsewhere in the labyrinth of astronomical archives, it is unhesitatingly recorded that a certain other nebula possesses density 3,500 million times the Sun's mass. In the last case, it was noted that the eighth of plasmic substance less nebula is not assumed to weigh that many times the Sun's surface light mass. It is assumed to weigh 35 million times the unknown mass content of the entire Sun. Such an estimate of the Sun is postulated with impunity, in spite of the fact that nobody has knowledge of the meaning of Sun other than that it gives light, heat, and energy. And so can there be an estimate of the mass weight of that, which is unknown, yet astromathematics will provide the way the instrument without knowledge of what is being weighed, such as the power, but hardly the glory of infinite mathematics. It becomes increasingly evident that our earliest ancestors, who worshipped that Sun, without the questionable benefits of modern astromathematics, knew more about the Sun than the modern mathematical astronomer does for a determination of values. It should here suffice to record that all such mathematized conditions of weight assume that celestial level would have application to terrestrial areas under investigation from any part of the celestial. Though it is definitely known that such mathematized, I've assumed celestial conditions do not exist on terrestrial land areas or in luminous sky areas, they would have to be mathematically concluded to exist if for no better reason than that of sustaining the doctrine figures do not lie. Though God forsake his kingdom and the universe collapse, the figurative must prevail. The figure must never be questioned, for if there'll be no universe, the figure will create one. And if there'll be no creator or creative force, the figure will adequately replace it. So says the figure, astronomy holds a unique, most unknown, viable position. It is unlike any fruitful science known to man. Its premise is eternal, though it be the most illusory, ever established philosophy, seeking to find behind things and events. Their laws and eternal relations dares to abandon the premise found to be at variance with fact. Only in such manner can philosophy continue to seek for, determine, and interpret values in the world of reality. That will philosophy's broad horizons extend the things and conditions of the physical world into the metaphysical realm. There is ever a continuity of pattern, or in things and conditions for a physical plane continue to be reasonably identified on the metaphysical plane. But despite its broad scope, philosophy need not resort to figurative definition of its transcendent values. Obscuring equations and symbols are not required for coherent description of factual values. Interpretable by words where there is a fact to convey words will be found to express it. But when there are no facts, mathematical symbols, very formidable, obscure the condition. Astronomy, claiming to interpret the physical universe, possesses knowledge of neither the beginning of the end of its telescopic domain, nor has that domain origin or ending in a world of reality. Sky gases misinterpreted as landmass can hardly be considered expressive of reality, nor can the gross misinterpretation of energy's wave motion to be prescribing a circling or ellipse in motion assists men's comprehension of the created and realistic universe, and a third closer attunement. With the infinite, the heavens proclaim the glory of God, and they would proclaim the glory of a telescope that never been invented after centuries of helioskopic astronomy. Man beholds the same luminous splendor displayed for his earliest ancestors. He sees no more, and he knows no more of the celestial heavens above, though telescopes have found more points of light for the telescopic lens. They continue to be incompetent to penetrate such light points and to permit determination of realistic value. Attention to the lights and what is under the lights further, the abstract mathematical values imposed on lights detected, of so distorted real created values, that they have become progressively more obscure with each advancing year of heloscopic detection and astronomical interpretation. In fact, the abstract mathematicians have so mathematized the real universe that it has been made a figurative universe where only mathematical symbols may dwell. Therefore, one can both mentally and physically indulge the real universe through understanding of the importance of current events. Then can one fully benefit from the creative splendor of celestial skylight. Despite the obscuring and distorting astro-mathematical conclusions resulting from basic fallacy representing astronomy's prima causa, timely understanding of cosmic values, recently discovered, enable one to discern why a great churchman, the late William Cardinal O'Connor, Archbishop of Boston, publicly denounced the atheistic tendencies of abstruse mathematics in the summer of 1927. At the time, His Eminence confided, "Science is going around in circles the unprecedented events of our time," as he recorded eloquently attest that if the phrase "going around in circles," every merited application of could have no better applications, and to that abstract science of astrophysics that the Cardinal had in mind. The Cardinal's timely observation was subsequently amplified by the late Garrett P. Service. The road of the author of that beneficent mathematical postulate as concerns the intellect of the average person he is responsible for having let loose from their caves, a bevy of blind bats who was wild circling in the limelight of publicity, draws dreary gleams around the moorland of everyday common sense. Where is the meaning in mathematical gymnastics providing a presumptive estimate of our sun's weight, 1 billion or 10 billion years? In the past, the meaning is less if there could be less meaning, when other mathematical dictums contradict the instrument and establish that the sun's realistic magnets, the function is unknown. What meaning to the life of a star and its mathematized way? And if every word of that question had application to a world of reality, what would it contribute toward men's comprehension and acquisition of the universe about us? What value to the astronomical estimates of 30,000 million, 200,000 million, and 500 million celestial light points? When the meaning of just one point of light is not understood, at least not by the astronomer, no physical science could, or would accept for 3 weeks, to say nothing of 3 centuries. The illusions of astronomy, the physical sciences could, and were, determine the reality of premise before elaborating on the premise. But what could astronomy do? The astronomer's powerful mathematical conveyor could not take him to the celestial skylight points under investigation in geology, biology, physics, chemistry, anatomy, botany. The findings are substantially rooted in the world of reality, and though X figures are applied in such truly scientific endeavor, they have basis in reality rather than an illusion. They are intended to enlarge, but never to distort the basic reality, and the mathematical results, though always subject to direct and most critical scrutiny by brain sight rather than lens sight, are immediately questioned and as readily rejected if they are at variance with fact within the broad scope of positive and applied sciences. Where the formula for duplication of man is unknown, the fact is freely admitted. Abstruse figures are not paraded to assume the laboratory making of a real human being, or to facilitate the deception of having made a super Frankenstein monster to replace man. What value could possibly attach to the mathematical making of a single drop of blood, which the combined sciences are unable to reproduce in laboratories of a world of reality? In spite of the mathematical formula, the Red Cross would be obliged to continue the more realistic practice of extracting blood from the veins where created force caused it to be installed and where only nature, natural agent of that force, is capable of reproducing it. Where the most precise and positive dictums of human world, can't symphonic mathematics actually provide a single drop of blood as concerns a world of reality? Infinite mathematics are as nebulous as infinite space. Contrary to all scientific endeavor and conclusions within an established order of reality, the mathematical astronomer is privileged to create mathematize identities, having no relation to the world in the order of reality. Further, he is permitted to distort and obscure entities abiding in a world of reality through the play of abstruse mathematics. The most important aspect of that world of reality is the sky, which envelops the roads, land and water, vegetation and life, and its luminous powder surface mystifies men with unique performances against the dark curtain of infinity stage. It presents the most intriguing spectacle than the eternal theater owned by that unknown, peerless producer of celestial and terrestrial drama. That magnificent universe producer endowed the most remote celestial area with the identical physical values common to this known terrestrial area where we dwell. And in the creative course of such transcendent production, there was also involved the brain of man. The producer intended it as a formidable agent to check and correct the oceans developed for man's feeble observation of the creative production. Every celestial mile of that production, known as the universe, is as realistic as this Earth area is, and it is denied such created realism only as a result of terrestrial man's faulty observation and faultier interpretation. Where the producer intended the brain to see, truly man isolates the brain and delegates its duties to the lens. It doesn't work. Therefore, the roads of illusion not everywhere, as they have been proven to exist through actual photographs over the luminous terrestrial sky areas of White Sands, New York City, and elsewhere. They extend over every luminous sky area of the entire universe. There is not a mile of that celestial area described by the astronomers' so-called star chart for a factual sky chart, which does not present the identical road of illusions to be encountered in every journey over the illusion-producing luminous powder sky areas of our Earth. Since that claim was first made in the year 1927, the stratosphere essence and the lengthy series of U.S. Naval Research Bureau rocket flights have procured photographs of luminous and deceptively isolated globular terrestrial sky areas, confirming the claim beyond a question of doubt, with ICC not yet believe. What do you see? Not.